Hey everybody, welcome to another drive-through board game blog. Today is kind of a smorgasbord of different things to talk about. I did mention during my top 100 videos that I would do kind of like a little follow-up video, and then I've got some other things to do. So let me just kind of jump into what I'm going to do. And first I'm going to mention two Gen Con events that I'm going to be a part of. One maybe not. And then I'm going to talk about some inserts that I got from Robert Searing of insert.me. And so I'll show you that stuff first. And then that's kind of like the pertinent information. And then I'm going to go ahead and blacklist 5 games. And then I'm going to go ahead and do kind of like the top 10 games. I kind of like just missed my top 100, or I kind of thought about it after kind of doing the videos. And these were some that I really considered. And just for whatever different reasons, I talked a ton about it, different play environments and all that kind of noise in the videos. I'm just going to go through those real quickly and kind of just give you my little thoughts about why I enjoy those games. But first, let's jump into the two Gen Con events. And one is going to be the Spooning Meeples event, which I participated in last year with several folks, all kinds of different board game media personalities. What's going to happen is this event's going to occur. There's going to be different teams of folks. And on my team as of right now is Marty from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and Scott or Tox from The Crits Happen, or he also works for Arcane Wonder. So that's our team. And so there's 2 other teams, and I'm not going to name them. It doesn't really matter who they are. And then we're going to play some different games. There's going to be some audience participation. It's going to be really fun. You can be able to win games and win all kinds of things. And there's also going to be kind of sort of like a scavenger hunt kind of thing. We're still working out sort of the details, where if you find me on Thursday and Friday, and also find some other folks, I don't want to mention their names because we're still ironing out, but there'll be 2 other folks probably that you can look for. And we might have some promos and stuff to give you. And by collecting these promos, you might be able to enter or win a pile of games or some kind of game or something like that at the actual event. Now, there'll be a link in the description here on the blog post and on the YouTube video. So go ahead and look into that, but it's kind of forming. I will do like kind of a formal sort of how-to video and like what's going to happen exactly, how the sort of different contests are going to work and everything like that. So keep your eyes out for that. And then you can go ahead and sign up for the event now, in lieu of that if you want to. So that video will probably be coming, I'm going on vacation, so like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from the time that you see this video, roughly, probably sooner than later. So there's that event. And then I'm also kind of working out an event to possibly, this one is a little bit less likely, the other one is a for sure thing, is to play a Neuroshima Hex with some different folks. Again, Marty and Roddy Smith from Watch It Played, and then Matt Evans from Board Game Replay. And so Matt and I are on a team against Rodney and Marty. So we're pretty much going to win. We'll play some like Team Neuroshima Hex. That's not a for sure thing. So we'll probably do something along the lines. We've been playing Neuroshima Hex a little bit on the iPad online and stuff like that, and playing team games and then free-for-alls and stuff. We'll just have a lot of fun and trash talking. That was not for sure though, so I feel a little bit trepidatious about saying that, but maybe this will get people talking or something, and then they could do that. So the next thing I want to do is talk about these inserts. So Robert Searing gave me some inserts. I'll go ahead and jump now to showing you the different inserts and talking about them, and then we'll come back and then we'll talk some more games. So I've got 3 inserts to show you here. The first one is going to be for Panamax. So let's take a quick look here. And these inserts are all great, but you're going to see a little bit of a theme here with these inserts. So I've got the the rules, of course, on the board, and then we've got a little spot here, nice little sort of inlay or cut there for the player boards, like so. And then the nice thing about these, you can pull these out, of course, and then you can dig and find the money. So you don't have to make a big pile of money, and money doesn't have to roll over the floor. So that's great for storing the games not only in the box, but also out on the table when people are playing. You don't have to like rebag anything or unbag anything at all like that. You can go in here, you can grab the different player colors like so, and then over on this side we can pull out here the card spot, so you can just go through. You got the little cuts there, and you can grab the cards right out of the spot there. So that is the Panamax insert, and you can see here these are sort of a nice foam core, sturdy, dark, and everything looks really good and fits everything, of course, flush back in the box. And the next one we're going to take a look at is going to be Dead of Winter. We'll take a look at this. And again, we've got the rule book and the board on top. And we've got a little spot here for the different locations and things like that. And again, we have these little removable things. So here we can see we have little noise tokens, the different wounds, and then the survivors there. And then another little slot comes out. We can put this on the table as well with some of the food tokens and things. Again, more slots here for cards. So you can just leave the box like that. Everything's kind of nicely organized. You've got zombies you can just pull out of here, which is really fun. And then you've got the different characters here, different crossroads cards, other decks of cards. And then of course we have this, we can just go ahead and dump these on the table. But there's a little spot for the dice and then the other zombie tokens there. So again, another nicely executed insert. And that's going to be the insert for Dead of Winter. And then last and most certainly not least is the insert here for Caverna. So you can see we get the rule book. And then there's a lot of boards here that sit on top. So you can see, you know, the different player boards and boards for your caves and things here. These all stack nicely, of course, on top. And then now we have multiple trays here. So you can see, again, nice spot here for the different resources and the different tokens. You can see here the feeding tokens, quest tokens, sheep, and different things and so on. Some little spot here for the cards. And then we're going to take this out. Be careful not to spill it here. I'll take that out and set that there. And then again, we've got a nice, easily accessible spot for the tiles. So here I've got a little expansion tile and stuff from there. And you can very easily, you can even see kind of the colors. I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but you can see the different colors. So you know, like this is the, you know, that one there. So you can, once you kind of learn where they're at, you can easily just take these out and take a few of them out because you don't need all of them out right away, right? And then you've got the little spots here for the cows and so on. And all that comes out right very quickly. Player tokens. And then these are the different tokens for the different rooms, of course. So you can see color coded. I think you can see that. Let me see. Try to get it closer there. It's a little bit easier. So I got the yellow ones and the green ones. So it's very easy to get these out and then put them on the proper spots on the boards and things. So this one is a huge lifesaver for Caverna because Caverna, this is so much components. And when you look at it like this, it's like, oh, it's manageable. I can deal with it. Whereas if you have everything in bags like I used to have it, it's very difficult and tricky to work with there. So anyway, that is all three of those inserts. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those little overviews of the inserts. Definitely check out his website. He handcrafts these, and I think he does an excellent job. The Caverna insert was a lifesaver. I love that insert. And so he's got a bunch of other ones there that I think everybody should check out, covering, you know, all different kinds of games and everything. So let's go ahead and now jump into sort of a quick blacklist of games, and also then the top 100, top 10, not 100 games. All right, so these blacklist items, they're kind of in order. I'll just have them in the order that I have them listed here. Now the first one is almost like an honorable mention because it does have some merit, and that's Shadows of Malice. Now it's a very interesting sort of under the radar game, and I almost thought about not bringing it up because sometimes with these blacklists, like, okay, why do I wouldn't bring this game up? Because nobody's heard of it really anyway. It's not a very well-known game, so why beat up on it? And that one, this one kind of falls in this category. I have seen some positive reviews on it, which is kind of what initially piqued my interest. Let's see, Marco reviewed it positively. Michael Barnes reviewed it positively, and then there's another positive review I read. So they like it. I don't. Now it has some really neat things. So what this game is, it's sort of like a, let's say, what is that? It's sort of like a Mage Knight kind of game sort of thing where you're kind of adventuring and getting different spells and encountering different creatures and things. And the cool thing is all the creatures are generated by the system. That's really neat. It's not like you flip a tile and there's an orc or something there. It's some kind of different crazy combination of a thing depending on the terrain that you're in. And you're going through and trying to unlock these different gates as these sort of shadow entities are trying to come into this world. And the game's very much set up as if you are sort of you, but as an avatar going into this world, kind of like the Ultima franchise if you ever played the old computer games. So it very has that feel to it. And it has that sort of wonky fantasy feel too. It's not like I said, it's not orcs and trolls and everything necessarily. It's very generated. But the problem is it kind of feels like you're on rails and you're constantly rolling dice to generate creatures, to do combat, to get different skills. The card abilities and things are random. but it's actually kind of fun to play, but like I can't recommend it because it's so much on rails. Magic Realm was the other one I was thinking of. Mage Knight and Magic Realm, it kind of sits in that same spot. So if you like that style of game, the artwork's not super great on Shadows of Malice, but it's serviceable. It leaves a little bit more to your imagination, which I don't have a problem with. So the component quality, some people will probably, you know, take a step back at it. You know, I didn't really have a problem with it, but the thing is that you're just kind of randomly rolling and everything, so it's kind of more like a Tales of Arabian Nights kind of thing, more than a game, you know, I mean, it's a game, obviously, but so it kind of branches towards that side of the spectrum. So it's an honorable mention, one I would say take a look at, maybe watch Marco's review, Charlie Thiel, I'm sorry, I was thinking the other reviewer. So take a look at those reviews and Marco's review to get a second opinion, of course, but I didn't care for it, but I feel like, okay, I don't want to beat up on the game, but I don't like it, so there you go, there's my opinion. But maybe you should take a look at it if you like that kind of game. Then the next one is Tiny Epic Defenders, and do not like this game whatsoever. It is very boring to me, and it's very rote. It doesn't feel like anything really is happening. So I think it's a somewhat well-known game. I do like Tiny Epic Kingdoms, and I'm looking forward to Tiny Epic Galaxies. So I was very disappointed by this game, and I have liked, I think, all the designs by this designer, except for this one. I don't like this one at all. And it kind of, this is like a pandemic-y kind of like real micro down co-op where you're sort of, you know, putting out fires, so to speak, and literally sometimes, and trying to affect the encroaching monsters that come in. It's very much a reactive game with this weird deck of cards that, you know, dictates the turn order and stuff. And it just is like, there's nothing really inspiring about it. It's just very like, it feels like a prototype for a game where you could like slap on like a huge amount of chrome and different abilities and all kinds of crazy effects that would sort of interlock and everything, because the basic core is like mechanically like does things. I don't even want to say it works, I really don't like this game. And you know, it kind of does things and then you're kind of just like beaten up. I don't know. That's it. It's not very good. I definitely don't recommend this game. The next one, unfortunately, I don't like either. This is Massilia. This was from Quinette Games. And this one, I think, is broken. Now, I don't want to say it's broken, but it had some buzz last year. And played it a few times. And kind of a couple of those times was trying to figure out if it was broken, if we were just playing it wrong, because you get like this kind of like corruption thing that you take on, and you can take this on to sort of modify dice. So what the game is like a Euro dice game where you're manipulating dice and you're going to different markets and selling things. It doesn't really matter. It's a bunch of mechanics all put together, and the problem is you can kind of just get in a state, and it's been several months since I played this, so please excuse me. Go watch probably some videos on how to actually play the game. But you'll see there's a mechanic where you can accrue this corruption, and it just gets to the point where whoever gets like a whole bunch of corruption can just run away with it, or just, it gets in a weird state. It's just, it doesn't work. I'm sorry I can't be more clear on it, but I would definitely just say avoid it. Go check it out if it looks like something you want. But there's plenty of other dice Euros and things out there, and so it is what it is. And I think I did do some research on Board Game Geek, I should say, when we were playing. I was like, okay, so people saying it's broken, other people saying it's not broken. My experience, it is. So there you have it. That's Massilia. The next one is Fidelitas. And this is a game that's sort of disappointing to me, and I bring it up because it's a Philip Dubarry design. I think I've liked every single game I played of his. So up in this one, I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. So he's not like a perfect designer. This is a weird game. Like, it kind of, one of those is mechanically it works. You move cards around. You're trying to get, you have hidden goals, and you're playing these different characters from these different guilds to these places, and trying to set up different conditions on the board. And once a condition sort of is true, then you get to score your goal. Well, like, people don't really know what you're going for, and it feels like you're just kind of shuffling, you know, the characters around. And we did give it a few plays. It's probably like barely serviceable as a two-player game, because you can kind of guess, I guess, at what they're trying to do. You know, in terms of like, oh, you can have these number of knights at this type of room or something, you know, so you can try to, oh, he's kind of going for that, so I should screw him over. I don't know, it just feels like you're shuffling people around and not really doing anything. There's definitely no theme here, which I don't have a problem with, but it's just one of those where it's like, ugh, okay. So I think they're coming out with another game, like something about a treehouse, the greatest treehouse ever, I think the name of the game is called. So that looks like it might be a little bit better. But this one, it doesn't really work, and the art's not nice and everything, so it's just kind of disappointment for Mr. DeBerry. So that's a sad thing. But hey, nobody's perfect, including myself, obviously. And the last one is Nations Dice, and I really thought I'd like this game maybe the first 2 times I played it. I played it a few more times since the first 2 times, and this is like one that's close to being good. Now, this one, when I say it works, I mean it works more than Tiny Epic Defenders and then Fidelitas. It works, and you can tell there's some chunk here a little bit. You know, it's a light dice game, and it's a dice version, obviously, of the Nations card game / board game, and it has some interesting stuff. So you're going to be taking tiles and then getting new dice with the tiles. So you have to kind of work, you know, I'm going to oversell it. You have to work the strategy of the dice you get rid of. It's pretty obvious what you do. And then you get new dice, and then you sort of upgrade, and then you try to score in different ways. Now the problem is it kind of samey. Like, it gets really samey. So I think this one is like good for like 4 plays, and then boop, I'm done. I'm over it like instantly, because there's no, and I'm just going to talk about ways that would fix the game for me, and it's probably not fair to do that. I would like different starting abilities for the different nations, like Egypt and Greece and so on. They are all the same, and it would be really cool if you had like some kind of like extra little mitigation ability. So maybe an expansion would fix this. I don't like the tile selection thing. It's the same thing as in Nations, where you have each game, you have like basically everything available for that age. You know, you've got the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 tiles. And so you just have like a random valuation of them every single game. And turn order is very important in terms of that, because you can grab like some really good cheap ones that are obviously strictly better tiles for you, and would be strictly better probably for a lot of other people, and you get them very much cheaper than, you know, somebody else who's got to, like, you know, spend a token and then, you know, turn 2 dice into another resource, that kind of thing, to get a tile to just kind of get themselves going. And I've seen turns, especially in a 4-player game, where somebody's like, cool, I get a bunch of books. You know, and that actually can keep them in the game, which I kind of have a problem with, because it's like, okay, they just rolled a bunch of books, and so they get the little knowledge buff, and so they get 3 points because they're ahead of everybody else, but they didn't really do anything on their turn. I mean, that's boring. That's really boring. I mean, yeah, it kept me in the game, but no, I sat there and everybody else was doing a little cool little like mitigation and throwing in tokens and stuff. That's awful. It's just bad. So I like the core, though. That's the thing. That first couple of plays, I was like, I like this core. This is cool. I like this better than Nations, you know? And because you've got some interesting dice stuff, and it's not like another Yahtzee variant. But it's like, hits that brick wall, and that's the trick with some of these like kind of medium or lighter Euros. It's like, ooh, this is fun. I'm pulling cool levers, and all of a sudden, bam, you hit a wall, and you're like, cool, I did this 100 times already, you know? And so that's kind of the problem with Nations Dice. So if they had an expansion for it, I probably would really like the game. That's possible. So that's why I got to give it a mention. Anyway, so those are the 5 blacklisted items there. And then now, these are somewhat in order, and I put them in order, but like I talked about in my top 100, these next 10 games that are going to sort of outside the top 100, that like last 25 in the top 100, and then it's, you know, some beyond the 100 are kind of like in this big sort of, you know, pool of games that can just kind of shift depending on the mood and what I haven't played recently. Like if I just played Stone Age, you know, maybe 2 times in a row, I don't want to play it for a little while, so it goes out of my top 100, and then maybe it comes back in after I haven't played it in a few months, you know. So that's that. So these are the ones that kind of just missed the cut. I did consider putting these in, and I gave them a lot of thought, and then I kind of revisited it, and I cut it down to 10. There's probably another 5 more that could go in here, but I said, let me make a cut at 10, and then we'll be good to go. So I'll talk about these very quickly. So first of all is Cthulhu Wars. A very enjoyable, very surprising game. Over insanely done, you know, models and miniatures and all that kind of stuff. Really cool, works good at all the player counts. I haven't played it with 5. I don't think I have the components. I don't have the components to play with 5. Once you get some expansions and stuff, you can play it up to 5, I believe. And I don't have any of the extra maps and stuff, and I don't know that those are even out. But I think I'm kind of waiting for some of these extra maps and some of the neutral demons to come in, so some different configurations, because I played it I want to say 4 times. I think only 4. And you can kind of feel the script come in a little bit, where it's like, okay, if you're this kind of character, you're going to go here and here, and then you're going to try to activate and unlock this one spell. And the dice kind of mix it up a little bit, and it's enough open to player interaction that you can sort of, you know, throw a wrench in the script. But it kind of feels a little bit like that. Not in the sense that I think it's really scripted, but it has that, just that, you know, on your shoulders a little bit, ooh, this feels like kind of the same for the first round. So it has that. So I'm kind of looking forward to more of this. It's staying in the collection, and but it's good. I don't like it. And this would be my number 10. So this will be like my 110, let's say. But so I'm going to go 10-1 at this point. So that's number 10. Number 9 is Sushi Go. And this one I really thought about because really had a success with this. In all of the environments that I play with, family, friends, brother and his wife, playing at restaurants and stuff like that, playing with some of my work friends at work, and then we would sometimes go out to lunch, you know, on a Friday or something like that once in a while. We'll play it there. It works really well, and I think it's a little bit underrated, actually. I don't think I've done a review of it. No, I haven't. And there's plenty of good reviews. Definitely go watch one. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. But after you kind of play it a few times, you start to see that you can have like a significantly, relatively different sort of deal of cards. You can have a lot of the Maki rolls come out, which you kind of build up as a set to score, and you try to get majority, I should say, to score. And sometimes you don't have very many, so like, oh, I should keep that one. And then you get a hand, like, okay, there's 4 in this hand. So, you know, so like just that kind of configuration can change things up. You know, you have more wasabi. So it's a different deal of cards. It's not super strategic at all, but it's very satisfying because you are always kind of presented with that different, you know, configuration, you know, however many degrees of difference between the last hand and the one you're currently looking at is going to change. But it's cool. I mean, it's food, so you can have it, you know, while you're eating food, you can eat it and be like, man, I really wish we were at a sushi restaurant right now. So it's really good. It just kind of works, and it does what it does. And I like drafting. I think I said that a few times. Number 8 is Hegemonic, and this one is sort of fallen from graces, and I'm still having the collection, but it's kind of one of those I feel like it needs an expansion, actually, and one that I have a hard time getting to the table. And there's another game on this list that is similar to this, a little bit higher on the list, and it's one of those where it's kind of like a little long for getting to the table, so it's kind of like slipped out of that range. Now I do have long games on, you know, my top 100. Game of Thrones can go very long, and in Abyss, and a couple other games like that. But there's always so much room for those kind of games where those big game nights or those game days happen. And, you know, there's a couple that we've been able to play, and this isn't one of them. So, you know, anyway, this is one I want to keep. I want to see it hopefully get an expansion or something. I know there's some talk of that. But it's one that I enjoy, but I've had a hard time getting it to the table, especially in the last year or so. But yeah, so it's one that I really thought about putting in, but then I'm like, gosh, I got Eclipse and Clash of Cultures and these other games, and it's like those just kind of always come out versus this one. So that's what kind of ended up bumping this one off. So table time is very important for that top 100. So that's was that 8? Number 7 is Harbor. It's a very new game from the designer of Tiny Epic Defenders, who I mentioned earlier. And this is probably, I think this is my favorite game from him. Scott Alms is his name, I should say it. I do like Tiny Epic Kingdoms. This one, though, I really enjoy. It's a lot of fun. You have some very interesting dynamics that can happen with the way the buildings get dealt. It's kind of like a Le Havre light game. If you've played Le Havre or know about Le Havre, it's cool. Now, I've heard some weird stories. To me, it's weird, but I could kind of see how it could happen where people are like, it took us an hour and a half to play this. And I'm like, what, an hour and a half? Like, we play this at work, and like, we usually have 45 minutes to play a game, maybe an hour tops, depending how fast we eat, you know? And I could see it with certain deals because you can like reshuffle that market and kind of just screw somebody over. But the whole game to me, and the thing that we kind of learned after several plays of this one actually, is kind of awaiting and expecting that reshuffle and then being ready at the time to capture whatever the current state of the market is. So you have to very much think ahead. And we talked through it quite a bit at lunch. So I could see it taking a long time, but it does not take us a long time. And, you know, like I said, we kind of talked through it. So it's very different, very interesting game. So I definitely recommend Harbor. And from our experience, it's like a 30 to an hour game, you know, tops. 6 is King of Tokyo, another one I strongly considered. This has been great with the gamer group and the family group. Everybody should know about King of Tokyo. If you haven't heard of it, definitely go look it up on Board Game Geek. Check out any review on it. I haven't reviewed it myself. Lots of fun. It's a Yahtzee game, which I normally hate, but it's sort of fixed for me because you have these decks, one deck of cards with 3 available special abilities, and there's like 100 or something unique special abilities that you can grab and augment, you know, trying to score points or beat everybody else up. And it's, you know, big old cool kaiju monsters and Godzilla and all that kind of stuff. Awesome, fun game. It's just super fun and it plays out super different every time. You really want to have at least 4 people, I think, to play it, 4 to 6, and it's a fun kind of party game with just interesting, cool special abilities, and it's a Yahtzee game, and it's my favorite Yahtzee game, I think. I don't think I had very many Yahtzee games on my top 100 now that I think about it. I don't think I had any Yahtzee games, but this is definitely my favorite of that set. Number 5 is Settlers of Catan with Cities and Knights. I know this is like heresy to people, but like so many times we used to play Settlers of Catan Cities and Knights. This was a while ago. And this to me is sort of like a Civ game to me. You have, now I should say Cities and Knights is the key, but Cities and Knights with the second expansion, which is now escaping me because I only wrote Cities and Knights. Seafarers of Catan as that one. So that one, because you get the different map shapes, which is really, really, really cool. So you have a lot more different maps, and you've got the different island boats, which kind of act as roads, and just, you know, you've got a lot of variety there. And you've got the barbarians coming, you've got the different tech tree, so your buildings aren't just like, you know, settlement and city. You've got like science buildings and all these different cool little flip book things that you can do. I haven't played this, you know, nobody likes to play Catan. I've still got Star Trek Catan somewhere, and I still like that one just if I feel like playing Catan, because I do. I like to play, just bust out Catan every once in a while, and I don't care. You know, like anyway, like I don't care. I'll play Catan. So Mercedes Nice is my favorite. It does take a while. It's like 2.5 hours to play it. So that's a little bit long for Catan, but I like it. You get trading, and then, you know, max at 4. None of this 5 and 6 player crap. 4 players, Cities and Knights with Seafarers map, something. That's awesome. It's really, really fun. I really enjoy it. All right. Number 4 is Diamonds. Diamonds I really thought long and hard about. I played this at work, and but mostly this has really gone over well with the family group playing this. So, you know, sort of in my family history or whatever, lots of folks, I think it's a common thing in the United States, I'm not sure, but hearts, cribbage, spades, rummy, pinochle, bridge, you know, that kind of stuff sort of goes back. And I played it with lots of friends through high school and college, and we played poker and hearts and all kinds of stuff. And so Diamonds is a super cool twist on basically hearts or spades. Great game. I did a review of it. There's been a few other reviews. Really cool twist on this game. I really thought long and hard about putting this. All these I really thought long and hard, but especially the bottom end of this list. You know, putting that game is really, really fun. It's cool because you don't, I'm more of a ladder climbing guy, but trick taking games are neat. But this one, I kind of burned out on it because, like I said, you know, we've got sort of like history. I played so many times since I was probably in middle school. And this one is cool because you don't ever have a hand where you can't do something. You can't try to play off the special ability of the suit, or even just try to grab the trick like you normally would want to. So that's very, very cool, and I think very, for sort of ingenious in a way that they sort of accomplished that with Diamonds. Now, number 3 is Navigador. Now, Navigador is not a game that I've ever owned, which is probably why I sort of forgot about it, so to speak, or just didn't really think about it because I don't own it. So I don't feel like, well, I don't own it, so should it be on there? I don't know. And but we played quite a bit at the gamer group. This is probably my favorite Matt Gertz game. I kind of was leaning Concordia, but I get real sick of the scoring in Concordia where you can't score until the end. That drives me crazy now. That's just, I think I've kind of burned myself out on it. I don't know. I still like Concordia. I think I need a break from Concordia though, to be honest. Maybe give me a year or something and I'll come back to it and play it. It'll be interesting. But I don't like this, like, oh yeah, there's 25 points I could have done if I did that. I'm like, it just, that separation is too much. And I feel like I should just be writing points down during the game. Anyway, this is not about a Concordia, it's about Navigador. This is cool. I like this one quite a bit. There was a player count that I did have issue with, and I think it was the 3-player count. There was something we figured out about playing with 3 that was kind of weird. But playing with 2 or 4 and 5 actually works quite a bit. And it's been a little bit of time since this come out to the table, but for a while there, it was kind of coming out on a repeated basis. And I really enjoy it. It's definitely my favorite Rondel game. I played a few of his Rondel games. This is by far and away my favorite. Very interesting kind of, I don't know if it's like a turn order thing. It's like a timing thing. So sort of it's like a brinkmanship thing, I think, as you can say. So you're kind of unlocking markets and then sort of piggybacking on markets, and then you get the whole, I mean, that kind of is what the Rondel is about, sort of timing and figuring out when to execute, and then sort of trying not to set up opportunities for everybody else and things like that. So really cool game. Definitely take a look at it. If you like Euros, if you haven't played a Rondel game, it's not very difficult to get into mechanically, but it is one that it's going to reward, because there are some different ways to score points, kind of upgrading your different temples and things, or being more of a shipping type of person and stuff like that, and sort of exploring more or less, or sort of, you know, riding the coattails a little bit of the explorer, so to speak. Very cool, interesting game. And kind of thematic in a lot of ways too. That was number 3. And number 2 is Haunts of Teutonica, which frankly I just burned out on. Now I've only played once with the first expansion map, and I haven't tried the new Britannia expansion map, which I understand changes things up. I don't know how, like, drastically, but it does change some things up to make it, you know, refresh the game a little bit. I've talked a little bit about this on various places. I'm not one of those that subscribes to the whole action track being broken. I distinctly remember a time where, if you don't know the game, please go look it up, but there's one issue that people sort of harp on, is like, everybody has to compete for the actions, whoever gets the actions first is gonna be the winner. Well, I specifically tried not to do that one game, and I think I won by like 22 points or something, where I kind of got in the way of the people chasing the actions, and then I was like all over the board with my cubes, and then I grabbed up some of the other different tracks that you can get, and then I was like scoring points already, connecting routes, and then getting into the spots where you can sort of eat up points as people you know, use and grow that action themselves. And then by the time the other people had gotten their extra actions, it was like free going. I jumped in and got my couple extra actions that I needed, and then I just railroaded right to victory. So it is possible to have some kind of like exploratory sort of play with Haunts of Teutonica, but even then it like still like kind of grated on me a little bit, just the dryness of it. And it's probably one, I don't know what it is. Like, I still really like the game, I just don't feel like playing it that much anymore. And I got rid of it, and I haven't tried the expansion and all this stuff. So that would be, what would that be? 102. All right, so then number 1 is a Mage Knight, and this is the one I really thought long and hard, but I honestly haven't played that in some time. I probably like to play it best solo as well. So there's that, and I've played it 3-player. I never played it 4. I played it 1, 2, and 3. And 3-player, like, I'll never play 3-player again. And it's just like, it's too, like, if I had a dedicated group, or I don't even know that I have this desire, but if I did, and I had a dedicated group that could sit and play it a lot, and we could get good at it and get fast at it, I think it'd be a really, really fun game. And there's some very interesting things. There's like some co-op, you know, there's some more PvP oriented types of things, and there's more of like a race thing where you're trying to race to the cities and, you know, get the points and all that kind of cool stuff and level up the most. Awesome game. I mean, just insanely mechanics, all that stuff. Probably my favorite Vlaada Chvátil game, although I do like Pictomania quite a bit. Anyway, so Mage Knight, you know, if you haven't seen it, I did a good review, I think, of it, and there's a couple other really good reviews, you know, on the Board Game Geek page. Go look at any of those. And there's actually a couple of really good walkthroughs, and come to think of it, of Mage Knight, that show you kind of the whole like turn, a couple of rounds of the game at least, and then you can really get into it in there. So anyway, that would be like my 101. And like I said, during my top 100 to kind of wrap things up, Mage Knight, if I'm looking at it from sort of the design perspective and some of these other games, and sort of like, you know, if I had to take a step back and kind of just take myself out of it completely, Mage Knight would probably jump way up, because it's an achievement. It's very astounding to me that somebody comes up with all these mechanics and they work so well, and it's still thematic and all this stuff. Like, that's awesome. That's amazing, you know, to me. That's just, I'm awestruck that Vlada Chvátil and, you know, and his developers and his playtesters and WizKids with the whole production and everything, and how they incorporated the clicks, and, you know, the components are really nice looking. Even the whole production is great. So, you know, if I take a step back, you know, I would reorder a lot of these. But again, it's a personal thing. I think that's the way these should be, these 100 lists. All right, so that's it. So Gen Con event's coming up. I'll do another how-to video. I looked at the inserts. Please go check it out. Again, I'll have links at the bottom, Blacklist, and then the top 10, not 100. Okay, thanks everyone.